Imagine you're a race engineer facing an impossible choice. One gearbox setup for a tight, twisting circuit where cornering speed is king. Or a completely different one for a flat-out speed fest where every tenth on the straights matters. But here's the catch. You have to decide right now, weeks before you even see the track, in weather you can't predict, with a grid position you don't yet know. Get it wrong and you're defending a setup all weekend with no second chances. This choice, made in a motorhome boardroom not on track, can cost a team 3/10ths per lap, or win them a championship point on Sunday. A tenth of a second at Monaco might mean the difference between Q2 and elimination. At Monza, it's the gap between podium and fourth, and teams don't get to gamble. Regulations lock your gearbox choice before Friday practice even begins. No mid-weekend pivots, no quick fixes. So every engineer faces the same brutal calculation. Read the wind forecasts, predict tire degradation, guess where your car will finish in the rain, and commit. Miss the call, and you're stuck defending a setup that fights you for 3 days straight. This is why gearbox strategy separates the champions from the rest. Let's picture what actually happens inside that gearbox during a single lap at Monza, the fastest circuit on the Formula One calendar. You're hammering down the parabolica at 340 kilometers per hour, slipstreaming another car, and your engine is screaming at 15,000 revolutions per minute in sixth gear. But here's the physics. If your gearbox is set up with short ratios, gears that are close together, your engine will hit the rev limiter at lower speeds, forcing you to shift constantly. That kills momentum on the straights, where Monza punishes you hardest, and you hemorrhage time to rivals who can stay in high gear, let the V6 turbo pump all that hybrid electrical power down to the rear wheels without interruption. Now shift scenes to Monaco, 3 weeks earlier, a completely different animal, 260 kilometers per hour maximum, never faster, mostly 150 or less. Here, short ratios become your weapon. They let you accelerate viciously out of the slow corners where the race is actually won, where grip and traction matter more than top speed. Your driver exits the Fairmont corner at 80 kilometers per hour. With fresh tires, short ratios mean the engine stays in its power band, delivering maximum force exactly when the rear wing is generating cornering downforce. The air flowing over that wing creates invisible pressure that literally pushes the tires harder into the track. More grip, more cornering speed, more confidence to brake later into the next turn. That's the core tension. Short gears excel where you need raw acceleration and cornering punch. Tall gears excel where you need to preserve engine revs and squeeze every last kilometer per hour from the straights. And because tire temperature, fuel load, and air density all change throughout a weekend, the theoretical perfect ratio is a moving target, a compromise that leans left or right depending on read ahead. The engineer who predicted the conditions correctly doesn't just gain a tenth of a second, they gain an entire psychological advantage, watching their car find extra grip and acceleration that rivals never had available to them. History shows us this gamble in its starkest form. Monaco, 1984, Ayrton Senna's first victory in the rain, driving for Toleman in a car that wasn't supposed to win anything that season. Senna had set his gearbox for wet weather grip, short ratios through the tight corners, accepting that he'd never touch high speeds on the Beau Rivage straight, because in the rain, cornering speed is everything, and he was right. His rivals, some running taller ratios hedged for drier conditions, found themselves either bogging down, exiting the hairpin, or unable to brake late enough into Portier and Casino Square. Senna won by 1.4 seconds in a car that by dry weather metrics should have been 4 seconds slower. Pure gearbox strategy and reading the conditions 3 days before they arrived. Jump forward to the 2007 season. Ferrari brought short ratios to Monza, expecting a wet Saturday practice, a forecast that vanished by race morning. They were committed now. Kimi Räikkönen couldn't extract top speed on the Lesmos or the straights, and Lewis Hamilton in his McLaren running taller gears optimized for the dry track that actually showed up. had the advantage he needed down the straights where overtaking happens. Ferrari managed a third place that day, but the momentum of that season shifted. Not just because of one race, but because the wrong gearbox choice meant the car was philosophically misaligned with what the track demanded. The engineers didn't fail. They read the weather report and made a choice that was entirely defensible, and still lost, because gear ratios once bolted in become your reality for 92 laps. Now here's the question that keeps engineers awake. What if you could change those ratios mid-season, mid-weekend even? You'd never lose to weather again. You'd always have the gearbox the track demanded, not the one you guessed it would demand. But that's not racing. That's engineering perfection, and Formula One doesn't allow it. Your choice gets locked in, bolted down, and becomes non-negotiable for every lap of every race. Which is precisely why getting it wrong, even when you read everything correctly, still costs you championships. So remember this: high downforce circuits demand short ratios to convert cornering grip into acceleration, while low downforce tracks beg for tall ratios to chase every tenth on the straights. Second, weather forecasts become engineering decisions. Teams must commit to their gearbox weeks in advance, betting on conditions they can only predict, never control. And third, once that choice is locked in, it's locked in. 92 laps, one gearbox, no second chances, which is what makes Formula One so brutally unforgiving. Now we want to hear from you. Which circuit's gear strategy should we break down next? Or should we tackle pit stop aerodynamics instead? Either way, please subscribe and hit that bell, because every race tells a story the broadcast doesn't.